Hi, I'm Shappi Khorsandi. Welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show.
Welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show.
Shappi Khorsandi, welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show. How are you today?
I am overexcited, thank you. I got so excited, I got a migraine, but it's going now. The chevrons in my eyes are gone, and I'm omming. Just to calm myself down a bit.
But it's a very exciting day because it's your actual 21st birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very, very much. I'm 20, yeah. Have you noticed, I'm trying to think if I could still sound 21 on the phone. I don't know if I could. Do you think I could? Just get away with it?
Well, you phoned me earlier on and I thought, who is this 21-year-old phoning me?
Did you? Oh, great. Because I think as I'm older, I speak deeper and lower because I just feel that what I have to say should be taken much more seriously.
Absolutely. Whereas I don't, so I get away with a lot more.
Yeah.
Kind of what I'm going for.
I'm really sorry, you slept with your husband, Soz. Yeah.
Exactly. It's an accident. So because I'm psychic, I've got you something which will astound and amaze you.
Oh, thank you.
So just to explain, I've got you some strawberries and cream because in the jungle you had no, you know what happened.
Strawberries and cream. There was that whole issue. I keep forgetting I was in the jungle. I keep forgetting. Oh, it was bug free actually. I think someone got a tick.
So we are in Winchester today, which you've got a bit of history with, haven't you?
It's a very special place for me because this is where I went to university. This is where I spent my youth running around, kind of finding it impossible to understand how you could have quite so much fun. Yeah. But also it was quite anxious time as well, as I don't know what person in their early 20s doesn't have other stuff to deal with, but by and large it was just such a pretty place. Yes. And safe place to spend my uni years, and the reason I'm overexcited is because we're having a bit of a reunion. Some of my old friends have come and all the old dynamics are back, and there's something very special about being 45 and hanging out with a group of people who knew you when you were 18. It's kind of beautiful. I like that.
And have you all sort of kept in touch? You know what each other's up to?
We have, some more than others. So within the group, there'll be some that are much... It's my intro music.
Disco. It's party starting.
It is. Yeah, so that's really lovely that they're all here. And I'm in Winchester, a place that I feel so nostalgic about. And then I'm doing my show on my birthday. That's good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So tell me, what were you studying in Winchester?
Right, so I studied drama, theatre and television, which sounds like a jazz hands fame course, but it wasn't. It was hugely political, run by experimental Marxists and trots. Oh, I love this. Frank Turner's Wessex Man. Yes. Oh, lovely. Have you heard the song?
Yeah.
Oh, I might cry.
Tell me why. Is there a story attached to this song?
No, just everything he talks about. Hanging out and drinking on the cathedral grounds. And we're on Jewellery Street now. He sings about Jewellery Street.
So it's great that you're playing this tonight then.
Absolutely. And he talks about going to the railway, which I don't think the railway's there anymore. But it was this brilliant pub in Winchester. And I saw Chumbawamba there.
Oh, wow.
Back in the day. And it was a very, very special place. I might ask them to put this on before I come on, instead of in the Navy. I think that makes more sense.
It's good. I like it. So you were studying sort of theatrical things.
Oh, right, yes. Yeah. My course was hugely political. Like, we studied a lot of African drama, community theatre. And then on our first day, I sort of was listening to what we were going to do, making documentaries, drama documentaries and social commentary documentaries. And I said to them, is there an end of term play? And they went, no. Did you not read the prospectus? Like, no, I just thought the water meadows were really pretty. So it wasn't quite the course I wanted to do. Yeah. And to be really honest with you, I spent ages thinking I should be studying English literature. I should probably maybe try and get into Loughborough, but I didn't want to leave Winchester. I thought, you know what, I've made my friends. This is good. I like it here. It wasn't like a big sprawling university. There was no nightclub, but then I'd get away for weekends and go and see my brother in Cardiff and friends in Manchester. So I did experience the big ass student life with other people.
And you got over your hangover now, so you're ready to come back and do it all again tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when did you first know that you enjoyed making people laugh and that you might want to go into comedy?
Oh, since I was tiny. Since I was really little. But I didn't know it had a word. I just knew that making people laugh felt good, and it gave me attention from my dad. My dad was always very busy, but he would absolutely give us all his attention if we made him laugh, and he'd like us kids to perform to his friends, and so you sort of grow up. I don't know, sometimes I think the desire to be a stand-up is a disease, because there are plenty of extraordinarily funny people, plenty of witty people in the world, and but to be a stand-up, I think it's a compulsion, and what's a compulsion if not a mental illness, right?
But the best kind.
Well, it's funny because there's so many comics. You talk to comedians, they're obsessive about things, about comedy, and often about music.
When I wake up, there's at least 15 outside my window. I know what you mean.
Are there? What comedians? Why have you got? I live in London, so I've got rats outside my window. Yeah. So yeah, and I think that after university, everybody went off and got jobs, and that was not in my game plan at all to get a job at all. I didn't know how to fill in. I'm very dyslexic, so like filling in forms, CVs, all that. I didn't get any of that done. So I moved back to London. I became a life model, cleaner, babysitter, like doing jobs that tied me, paid the rent, but they
Gave you some freedom?
Gave me freedom. I mean, it kept me quite poor, actually. I think I knew that the only time I'd make money would be, this bit is so rude, I knew that the only way I'd ever have money would be through comedy. I think it's quite important, if you want to work in the arts, not to ever have a job that's not in the arts that makes you money, because then you get used to money. And then you go, well, why would I give this up to do a gig in Bangor for 50 quid? Whereas if you're really poor, then you're sort of more hungry for it, I reckon.
So what were your first gigs like? Do you remember? Where were you? How long was your set and all that kind of stuff?
Well, my first ever gig was at a pub called the Camden Head Pub in Islington. And I was on with a guy called Brian Higgins, who is wonderful, and also with a really tall guy called Stephen Merchant.
Met him a few weeks ago at a film premiere.
Oh, did you? So he was there. He was an open spot too. And we were both all nervous. And I did 5 minutes, and it was fine. I got laughs, and that was the maddest experience of my life. I couldn't believe I'd done it. Couldn't believe I had done it. And one of the other acts had a lot of props, and he gave me a cherry. Because you've popped your comedy cherry. But that was adorable. And I did well for first time ever, and the promoter gave me £5. And I spent it on taramasalata, because that was a real luxury food for me back then. Smoked salmon taramasalata.
Very nice. So yeah, I mean, do you think that the sort of first gig can potentially make or break a lot of people, depending on how that goes? So you got a fantastic reception.
Over the years, I've seen a lot of people who are really funny and promising, but they give it up. I think some people, if you have a disease, then you don't give it up, no matter how your first gig went. I mean, I've had periods when I was newer of like 10 gigs in a row, just dying, and just being crap. And I remember going home crying to my parents, going, oh, I just died and they were hating me. But then the next time I'm back. And they didn't really get why I did it to myself by that point. There was a period where my dad was like, Shappi, maybe you should be a teacher. Why are you putting yourself through this, making you really miserable? But I was like, no, I'm going to do this.
I love that. Yeah, that's the great thing, because you're determined to make it work and refine it and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. When did you sort of think to yourself, I've actually made it?
I don't think I've ever thought to myself I've actually made it. No.
Up until you came on the Sarah O'Connell show, obviously.
Oh, yeah, I think when I got the direct message on Twitter from you, I thought, this is it. Yeah. I don't know. I still don't think, I still don't think I've made it. I'm still taken aback by it all sometimes.
But this is your career, right? This is your primary career. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. And I guess when I was working all the clubs and paying my rent from comedy, I was like, I am a stand-up comedian. There's a beautiful line in Arthur Smith's autobiography, which is called My Name is Daphne Fairfax, which I thoroughly recommend anyone who has an interest in the circuit, the comedy circuit. Because for me, it was all about the comedy circuit. It was the punk aspect of all of us doing this crazy career and all the boozing after the shows. That doesn't really happen now. I think younger comics are much more sensible and professional from the get-go, whereas we were like, we are doing this underground thing. We're like, we've got out of the rat race and we're doing this crazy thing, and we're not in it for the money. We're here for the rock and roll. Yeah, God, my liver. And then Arthur Smith talks about Malcolm Hardy's funeral, who, if you don't know Malcolm Hardy, he was a huge character on the circuit, absolutely no holds barred, crazy, getting up on stage naked and doing a balloon dance, absolutely bonkers. And he ran this bonkers club called Up the Creek that used to be the Tunnel Club, and he fell off his boat on the Thames and died. And at his funeral, in his book, Arthur Smith writes that there's all these comedians there, hundreds of comedians there. Some are household names, some are open spots, but they all greet each other with a look that says, I'm a stand-up comedian. You, my friend, are also a stand-up comedian. There isn't a finer thing in the world to be. And I read that line, I just loved it, because that's how I feel about it. It's whatever happens in my career, I just feel that being a club comedian was my dream, and anything else has been a wild bonus.
I'm very happy for you, and you're doing very well. Now, I first saw you live in, I think it was 2010. I went to the Channel 4 Comedy Gala.
Oh, God, at the O2?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I think I died on my arse.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you. They were tough gigs to do, those comedy galas.
It's the acoustics kind of different in a massive arena like that. Do you get the instant feedback, or does
No, you don't. And also, I think 2010 I did it and I really struggled, but then I did it 2 more times. And I think the last time I did it, I really enjoyed myself, because I remember talking to Michael McIntyre once about when he was doing a stadium tour, and he goes, it's a different room to play. It's a different skill. You have to give yourself the time to learn to play a room that big. And I remember the last comedy gala I did at the O2, we were all watching McIntyre come on, and he walked on stage and he owned that room, and I was like, yes, this is a man that can play this room and make it seem very intimate. But of course, the first time you do that, it's never going to be like that. And 2010 would have been my first time.
I very much enjoyed it, and I've been following your career ever since.
Oh, well, that's lovely. Thank you.
Very welcome. So, of course, you're touring at the moment, but you'll turn up on Live at the Apollo and things like that. How do you manage that amount of material? Like, do you have your show and then like extra stuff, or do you take stuff from your show? How does that work?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned Live at the Apollo, because I did that 3 years in a row, which I don't think was a great idea, because I didn't gather the strong enough material to smash it the last time that I did it. And I haven't done it since, because I think I wish I'd done it like, once every 2 or 3 years rather than in a row. And generally, I just don't know. I don't really stand by the stand-up that I've done on telly, because I'm such a live performer. I never feel it. It's a projection of what I do. But then I don't think anyone really feels like that about telly stand-up, So it's great, because I was very fortunate, because I feel that I was in a bit of a last chance saloon, And then I got this great new manager who got me live at the Apollo, and I felt, you know, in Indiana Jones, where that wall comes down and he snatches his hat, I kind of feel that my career was a bit like that. And I got another chance, but then I got divorced and I let everything go to shit again. So I feel at the moment, I feel like I'm rebuilding again after some years of heartache. And then I got my beautiful daughter, so you know, raising her by myself, obviously that takes you mentally out of the game a bit. So I feel I'm building again. So when you ask me if I've made it, I feel that I'm always building, and I don't think there'll ever be a time where I feel, well, now I can rest on my laurels.
But I think life's just like that anyway. There's different chapters and different challenges, and you know, things that sort of define certain decades and things like that. But I think that's okay, and to sort of try and evolve with things. And
I feel that it's only been the last 2 tour shows that I've done that I really stand by, you know, that I'm really proud of. Before, I don't know where my head was at, but I just used to take it all a bit for granted, if I'm really honest. And you know I'm a talker, I know I've got blather, and I would sometimes rely on that rather than structure. And so now I'm starting to, but that's just me, you know. God, if you saw all my school reports, they'd all say it doesn't work to her potential. Always. Every year I go, this year I'm going to do all my homework, this year. And I think you get to a point in life, you go, that's just me. I'm a bit of a last minute cavalier, a bit of a last minute revolutionary. I'll always be doing my homework on the bus. And that's okay. That's okay, because I've got, you know, I'm a mummy, and I've got that happiness going on, and it's all but I have actually, I am going to answer your question. I feel like I've made it now. Good. Because I feel I'm in a position to explore what I feel very passionate about creatively, rather than doing stuff out of necessity. And a lot of that comes with financial security, if it's not too crass to say that. Yeah. But I feel that I can pick and choose my work, which comes with financial security. Absolutely. So I think that feeling of being able to pick and choose, to an extent, I still did, like, you know, I'm a celebrity. I wouldn't have done that if it hadn't been for the money. I didn't do that for the art. Let's get
it for the delicious menu.
No, I didn't. I did that. Do you know what? I did that so I can take some time off and write my new book and write a play and all of this. So and have bedtimes with my children, crucially, because this work does mean no bed. You know, mummy's not home at bedtime. So I bought a lot of bedtimes by doing that show.
That's good. And what sort of compelled you to do it, like, because you had to jump out of a helicopter? I was scared for you, you know. I can't
really think about it. I've watched it on YouTube and I've cried. That was listen, it wasn't even terrifying. I felt like I was jumping to my death. But being the person I am, there was a camera on me, so I couldn't bottle out. And also I knew my children would be watching, and I thought, what sort of lesson would I be teaching my children if I bottled it? You don't bottle it. And then
don't bottle jumping out of a helicopter.
No, do not do. Always jump from a great height. Leap and the ground will find you. But that is one of those things in life. I've always felt very happy in my life, because I thought, oh, isn't life great because I don't have to jump out of a plane? And that I was like, oh my God, I'm jumping out of a fucking plane. Head first towards planet Earth, Sarah. Very
spinning aroundy as well.
Yeah, I've heard it did. I didn't really understand that when it was happening. And then floating down and seeing planet Earth from there, and just thinking, I want to see my friends. I want to be at home with my kids. I want to go home and kiss my neighbours. I've never been so grateful. So grateful for everything in my life. Not even like just my friends and family, just the bloke that works in the corner shop, or the smiles you might have with a stranger because you've nearly bumped into each other and you're both going left and right and you're giggling because, and then one of you goes, shall we dance? And just little things like that.
So the small details you were sort of not thinking about now are magnified.
All the things I'll miss when I'm dead.
That's lovely. It's very nice. So, what would you say are the highlights and lowlights of being in the jungle?
Now I'm a celebrity thing. Look, it's something I did.
Yeah.
I don't really look back on it much. It took me long to get over it. I missed my children to the point of madness.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't got out first, I think I might have walked.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was seriously thinking, because you lose your money if you walk. I think, okay, what have I spent so far getting here? How far have I come? Even after I got out, and I was having a lovely holiday with my children, I was in a taxi with my son. 3 days after I got out, I started crying. He's like, "Mum, what's the matter?" I was like, I just still miss you. The missing them traumatized me. Yeah. It was different to going away, because you go away, you talk to them on the phone, but you couldn't talk to them, you couldn't hear it, you couldn't get any news. Yeah.
Were they in the country with you, or
they came to Australia, so they were there when I got out. But it was unpleasant in that I felt absolutely an outsider in the group. Yeah. I was an outsider. I couldn't, because the men dominated it, and I can't be. You have to sort of play a role with guys like that. You just got to be smiley, smiley, smiley. Oh, you're so funny, you're so funny. And I'm not like that. I just felt, and it made me feel, oh yeah, this is what it's like being with sporty guys. Yeah. And unless they want to fuck you, they're not really interested in what you have to say. There you go. I did feel that. It felt like being back at school again a little bit. Yeah. So I'm not interested in you. What do you do as a woman? You're not attractive enough for me to be interested in what you have to say. So, and I felt that. And I know that's my thing. That's no one's fault. If it had just been the girls, I think I would have had a very different time. I like the girls. I like the guys too, but I don't fit into the world of banter. I don't. Yeah, I can't laugh for an hour because someone's fallen over. It's just not me. I can't have any nuanced conversation. And then if it wasn't about him, the conversation, if you couldn't steer it to his thoughts or whatever, and it just felt like you're being on telly, and actually you're doing it really well. You're good at being on telly. I'm treating this like an evening in a pub. People. Yeah. And so I think that was it. They were good at playing the game, and I went in there and I saw the game. I just thought I've never been able to. Yeah, so I was a bit like Pac-Man. I just went and got my money and left. Yeah.
Well, that's, you had the experience. You jumped out of the helicopter, and then you got to go home again, which is good. So your new tour, tell me about it. What can people expect if they go and see you live?
Oh, well, I've only got one more show left. What if you happen to be in Somerset? I've done a show about Emma Hamilton. Yeah. So she was a Georgian lady. Yeah. She was a love of Horatio Nelson's life. And she's kind of been mocked in history by historians because she worked in a brothel at a time. So they sort of sullied her character because historians came along, the Victorians, and they wanted Nelson's legacy to be about Trafalgar. And they tried to diminish the significance that this woman had in his life. But actually, she suffered an awful lot, this woman. She came from countryside. She was living on her own in London at the age of 12, working in brothels, working as a cleaner. But using her smarts and her wit and her beauty, she built a life for herself, and she educated herself, and she learnt languages, and she became a performer, and she pulled herself to a position in society where she was, best friends with Queen Carolina of Naples. And it was a totally awesome story of reinvention. And yet historians will, sort of crack jokes about how many seamen did Emma Hamilton have on all of this. So I wanted to mark her life sort of 200 odd years after she died.
Amazing. Well, I'm very much looking forward to watching it.
I'm brilliant. Glad you can make it.
Absolutely. For your birthday as well. Wouldn't miss it. Finally, have you got any messages for your fans around the world who are watching the Sarah O'Connell show today?
I love you guys. Thanks for coming to my shows. This is the worst American accent anyone, not just me, has ever done. Hold on. There, is that cheesy enough?
It's lovely. I really like it. So, Shappi Khorsandi, thank you so much for coming on the Sarah O'Connell show today.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. I need to explain. I've got terrible hay fever, not a coke habit. Thank you.
Shappi Khorsandi, thank you for coming on my show today. Thank you to everybody for watching at home. Be sure to share, subscribe, give the video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you all again soon for another episode of the Sarah O'Connell show. Bye.
Bye. See you, Sarah.
Thank you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Enjoy it.